Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Investing Explained. Here's today's question.
It is a very challenging business, and it's, you're doing a lot of stuff, whereas, maybe flipping a house may be a little bit easier because you don't have to deal with the client. You don't have to help them get financing and help them do this. And, you're not really getting paid for those things, right? We're just making money on a profit, just like a normal flipper would, quote unquote. So I would say with what I know now, I probably would. We've helped a ton of people just create some excess income, use the money in their bank accounts to grow a rental property portfolio. We've helped a lot of people do 1031 exchanges and save tons of money on taxes and, increase their income from $200 a month in California to, $2,000 with using the same amount of money. So that's probably the biggest benefit of this business is you see, you're really helping people with their passive income and growing their passive income and helping them do that through real estate and through single family homes.
Is that qualitative piece a big component of it? Because if I hear that you're making the same returns as a flipper or similar, but you're doing all of this extra work, I wonder why you wouldn't just flip it rather than doing the turnkey side of things. But if there's that component where, you're helping people and that means a lot, then I definitely would understand that. But good point. And the one thing I would say to that is that the benefit of me versus a flipper is that my same buyer can come back 8 times. Whereas if I'm flipping houses, that one family is going to buy one house and boom, be done, right? It's a benefit. It just takes a longer time to realize those gains, right? So it's going to take me a couple of years to build that. I've been in it for a couple of years, but a couple more years to build an even larger brand to even get more repeat business. So the sales get easier and easier as we go down. But, when I first started this back in 2017, it wasn't easy to sell these things, right? You got to really convince people that this is the right thing to do. Now it becomes much easier. I say, we sold 85 last year, and here's a whole bunch that we did in this neighborhood. And here's some clients that have bought houses next door to this one, right? So it's a much easier sale at this point, but just getting started, it's a much harder process because it's a much harder process just like a flipper would have because you have to go and list it on the market for rent and do all that kind of stuff. So and the project length is getting shorter and shorter as we have more and more referrals and repeat business. Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because with a flipper, it's a one-off sale every time. Whereas with your business, like you said, you have repeat customers, which is ideally cutting down significantly on your holding costs and just those additional costs that you have from holding the property if you're a flipper and you can't necessarily find a buyer. But if you have a list of buyers that you're continually selling to, that should really help with those holding costs, keep them down, and ultimately increase your profit margins.
Yeah, I agree. And then we also have a scenario, plan B, right? Which is to rent the property out and hold it. So a lot of flippers, what's really scary for me is, if I'm going to go flip a $200,000 or $300,000 home and property's on the market for 6 months, first of all, that's a lot of wasted money. And then second of all, there's no tenant in there because you can't put a tenant in there. So you kind of need to make a hard decision. Like, are we going to go and rent this property out now? Or are we going to keep marketing it for rent? So you got to make a hard turn, a hard pivot, and there's no going back because that said tenant's going to sign a lease for 1 year. Right. The other issue with the flippers in that higher price point, instead of sub $100,000, they're in like $200,000 or $300,000 price point, is that those properties don't cash flow very well either. So even if they were going to go pivot into, plan B, which is going to be rented out, they're not going to beat the 1% rule. The cash on cash return is going to be pretty bad. It's going to be less than 10%. Whereas for me, even if I just hold the property and leave my own money in it, I'm going to make, 15% return on my money.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say too, is having that turnkey business is such a benefit when you're buying these properties, because you always hear people talk about having at least 2 exit strategies, and your turnkey property gives you that. You can keep it as a rental for your own portfolio, or you can run it through the turnkey company. So I definitely think that's a component of having the company that's valuable that might not be thought about from everybody. That's all for this episode of Real Estate Investing Explained. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even more free content.